Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. I hope you're all having a fantastic holiday. Today, whether you have been naughty or nice, I come bearing the greatest gift of all. The gift of hope. Hope that the world will be a better place. What? Outside my purview? It did seem a little ambitious. Hope that in 2022 there will be more content and new tales for us to explore together. Today we'll be taking a look at the titles that have piqued my interest going in to 2022. Quick disclaimer, these are the games that both have a release date, no matter how vague it was, and have a greater than 90% chance of showing up on the channel. Some of these will be no surprise, but some of them hopefully will be a little sneaky. So this is by no means a definitive list, but it is a great place to start. So let's begin. First up on the list is an isometric action MMO coming out of Korea, Lost Ark. It originally released in Korea on November 12th, 2018, and it is finally coming to the West on February 11th, 2022. If you do pre-order the founder packs, you can play 3 days earlier on February 8th, and I'm gonna be there. Lost Ark has a large variety of content, but people in the West have been concerned about potential pay-to-win elements. And to my understanding, they've changed a few elements to better appeal to the Western audience at the loss of some potential revenue. So kudos to them, and I hope it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be showing up on the channel sporadically as I play and faff about, as one does in an MMO. Next up on the list is King Arthur Knight's Tale. King Arthur originally released into early access in January of 2021, and 1 year and 1 month later, on February 15, 2022, it is fully releasing. It is a dark fantasy turn-based RPG that is a retelling of Arthurian lore with a bit of a twist. Instead of being King Arthur, the good guys, the round table, we get to be Mordred, and we get to decide if we're going to be the good guys. But you all know me. We're not. We've played through King Arthur on the channel quite a few times. We've seen all there is to offer in Act 1 multiple times, so I'm quite looking forward to the expansion of the game and what it has to offer. Releasing on February 17th, 2022 is Total War Warhammer 3. This is the epic conclusion, the capstone to the Total War Warhammer trilogy, which began so many years ago. The sequel, Total Warhammer 2, was what I began the channel with, so this has a special place in my heart, even if the channel has long left Total War behind. So we'll be there with a special series featuring the very best, the greatest of the Dark Pantheon, my boy, Tzeentch. As for what else we'll see, it'll depend on what people like, and we'll just play it by ear, as I always do. The next game needs absolutely no introduction, and that is, releasing on February 24th, 2022, Elden Ring. I have lost count of how long people have been waiting for this video game. It is the next entry into the legendary Soulsborne series. Every gamer, their mother, their brother, and their dog will be playing Elden Ring. It'll be quite interesting to see how I can compete with other content creators, but I've never really cared about that, so we'll be playing and, just having fun. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about the game. Soulsborne, super excited. It's gonna be great. Releasing on March 3rd is Babylon's Fall. This is a game that I wasn't expecting to be excited for, but it is an ARPG with up to 4-player co-op where you climb the Tower of Babylon. It's by the same developers as Nier Automata, and it looks like it has some pretty awesome combat. These isometric type ARPG games are things I've enjoyed, such as Diablo and PoE. This one looks a little bit different, but I'm quite interested in trying to challenge the tower as a solo player, but if there's anyone else out there who would like to play with me, feel free to let me know. Releasing exclusively on the Epic Games Store, boo, on March 17, 2022 is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. This is an action RPG retelling of the original Final Fantasy story, which we did complete on the channel. It was good fun. And we are playing as Jack, who was the antagonist. Spoiler alert. But now he's the hero, and he is trying to save the kingdom of Cornelia. I'm sure there will be all sorts of revelations and glory awaiting in that game. Final Fantasy is quite popular in the West these days, so I'm excited to see how it does. Releasing on May 24th, 2022 is Forspoken. When I first saw this game, I had only one thought. It's pretty. It's very pretty. And it looks really cool. The magic effects, the flying around, the way that we travel, it all looks interesting. But I don't actually know if it's going to be interesting. But that's not going to stop me from checking it out. I am keeping an eye on it. Right now it is a little bit more expensive than most, even AAA games, which is kind of turned me off, but I'll keep my eyes peeled. And we could be seeing Forspoken on the channel in late May. Releasing sometime in spring 2022, the warriors of the Imperium of Man will rise to fight the Dark Tide of Chaos in Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. This is developed by Fat Shark, the ones behind the infamous Warhammer Vermintide. I say infamous because it's pretty famous, but it's also pretty famous for having server issues. Hopefully it'll be okay. It is a 4-player co-op adventure game where you pick one class, I believe there will be 4, and you queue into 3 other people to go smash chaos. I mean, purging heretics is just fun. I usually like to be on the side of the heretics. Anyway, this can also show up on the channel, so let me know if anyone wants to play it. Sometime in Q2 of 2022, Songs of Conquest could grace our presence. This is a turn-based strategy game inspired by 90s classic that tries to fuse RPG and kingdom management together into one glorious amalgamation of fun. A key fact, for me anyway, is that there are 4 factions, and one of those 4 factions is a necromantic faction. And we all know that I'm about that, so it will probably show up on the channel. Also sometime in Q2 of 2022, we will get our hands on Bleak Faith Forsaken. This game pretty much just looks like Dark Souls. Supposedly, the game focuses entirely on hardcore combat experience and epic boss fights. And we all know that I love epic boss fights. Not so much the hardcore bit, but I'll give it my best shot. At long last, releasing on June 24th of 2022 is the full release of Little Witch No Beta. This is a magical girl Souls-like that is adorable and surprisingly challenging. I love the fact that it is all based around magic. Basically, imagine Dark Souls, but you can only use magical elements. I had so much fun during its early access, which by the way never received a content update, which is why I'm so excited for this, that I have every single available achievement. There are only 21 of them, so it wasn't like it was a big deal, but the game was interesting enough that it compelled me to beat it 3 times to get all the achievements, so take that for what you will. Sometime in the first half of 2022, Eratis will be joined by another legendary supreme necromancer, who is yet unnamed. In The Unliving, this is a roguelite action RPG about raising an unholy horde of undead, and I do mean horde, entire screen type horde, to overrun the living. I have played the demo here on the channel, and it has been fun. I'm a little concerned with some of the elements of the undead just not doing anything. There's just like this swarm, this tide of dead things that you throw at people, and whether the people die or not is kind of RNG. But I'm excited to play it nevertheless because there's a necromancer and I'm gonna be there. Of all the previous titles, the one that I know the least about is the recently announced Homeworld 3, releasing sometime in Q4 of 2022, which probably means it'll be releasing in early 2023, but I wanted to include it anyway. Homeworld 3 is the 3rd entry to the legendary Homeworld title, which is a sci-fi RTS that I know actually very little about, only that it was really well received at some point in time. Perhaps this could be my glorious return to RTS games? This is an excellent spot to mention today's sponsor, if I had one. But since I don't, I would instead like to take this opportunity to thank from the bottom of my heart those who have supported the channel through Patreon and YouTube membership. Thank you very much for your continued support. And here's to a great new year full of actual content. And on the note of that content, the next part of this list includes games that only have a release date of 2022. Nothing more specific. These titles are in no particular order, so just enjoy them as they come. First up, Batora Lost Haven. This is a hack-and-slash RPG that has an interesting focus. The character can shift between a physical or a mental realm to do different combat effects and interact with the environment in different ways. It does look like there's going to be a few puzzles, which is the bane of my existence, but I was intrigued enough that this made it onto the list. So I look forward to seeing what our shifting lady has to offer. Next up is one of the titles that I am most excited for in 2022, and that is Cult of the Lamb. This is a cute action roguelike dungeon crawler But do not let the cute deceive you. This is all about becoming the one true cult and venerating the dark gods and giving them the glory they deserve. Obviously with blood and other eldritch shenanigans. So I'm there. Definitely Game of the Year potential. Next up, to join the long list of Harvest Moon inspired simulators is Potion Permit. This is a farming life sim based around alchemy and medicine. The overarching goal, instead of producing the best farm crops and livestock that you can, is to create potions and heal people. Usually I'm the reason people need to be healed, but in Potion Permit, I look forward to mending the wounds of my fellow citizens. And, romancing. If it's like Sunhaven, I'm going to romance everyone, break the game, and then a patch is going to happen and I'm going to be sad. But that's okay. We had fun while it lasted. And I intend to have fun again. For the next title, ask yourself this question. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to reclaim the mines of Moria? Well, now you can answer that question in Return to Nagrim. This is basically a Skyrim for dwarves, by dwarves, and with dwarves. Well, one dwarf. I usually don't play these first-person type games, but what really caught my interest, it's actually quite small, it's that there is forging. Any Dowie worth their salt is an expert blacksmith, and I'm quite curious to see how they incorporate dwarven forging. My favorite thing to do in Fable 2 was blacksmith. I blacksmithed all day, all night, all week, all month, all year. I was rich, and it was great. Currently, there's a demo available if you are curious about how Return to Nagrim works. Supposedly it'll support VR eventually too, but I ain't about that life. Next up is a real-time with pause steampunk RPG called Dark Envoy. I mentioned steampunk, did that catch your interest? One of the main themes here is the wonderful amalgamation of magic and technology. You play as twin relic hunters who will shape the world, doing something, I don't know, stuff and things. One passage on the Steam page truly caught my eye. Will your legacy be one of peace and honor, or stained by bloodshed and destruction? I don't know why I have to ask this question, because we all know the answer. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Next up is a combination of genres that I didn't expect would ever exist, and that is Beneath Oresa, a fighting roguelike deck builder. Puzzle those together. This, I guess, Slay the Spire inspired game is based on tactically upgrading your cards and positioning in the arena. Somehow. I'm really not sure how it's all supposed to work, but it sounds fun. I love these type of games. So hopefully this one is different and interesting enough to really stand out amongst all the Slay the Spire clones. We'll find out. We need to know what lies. The final game on my list is Solstice. Solstice is a Souls-like action coming-of-age RPG in a dark world, because they're always in a dark world. What would you expect? Humanity is on the brink of destruction, and the only ones that can defend it are chimeras, those who have a physical body that has been merged with a spirit to work together and save humanity from the end, I guess. With plot twists, because there's always plot twists. What really piqued my interest of this one is that you play as two sisters who have been merged together in the chimeric state, and it kind of reminded me of Ender Lilies in a way, where you're playing as two characters. The physical young lady, who is destroying everything with her weapons, and the spiritual young lady who's doing something. I actually don't know, but I'm interested in finding out. Let me know if there's anything on this list that I missed or that you are overly excited for. Thank you for watching. From Kulka and I, Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.